Hi, I'm Jessica Shaver. I am in Nursing, Leadership, and Management. This is for assignment 6 with the leadership interviews. I interviewed Elena Breeden, who is a nurse preceptor at Rockingham, and also Sarah Ellis, who is a nursing supervisor. Some key takeaways: I was very thrilled to see that both had a very positive outlook on change as it occurs with the ever evolving evidence based practice, and also a very positive outlook on culture of safety, which is a very I'm very passionate about that subject. Safety for our patients, safety for ourselves, safety for all healthcare, and that includes, avoiding falls, avoiding adverse occurrences, medication administration errors, um, things of that nature, making sure that the room is safe, making sure that our patients' armbands are labeled correctly, and that. So change has always been a thing, and unfortunately you have some nurses that have been doing their healthcare field for years and years, and they can become stagnant or want to buck change. And so Sarah made it a point to say that too much change that happens too quickly can cause an uproar on the team. And in order to avoid that, you need to make sure that everyone gets to be involved and change one thing at a time, not have an entire laundry list of things that need to be done and wipe the slate clean, because you're going to have frustration, and you run the risk of having errors when you have so many different policies and procedural changes. Sarah said in the last year, a big thing for change that has occurred is the use of restraints, because it's can be very taboo. It requires a lot of assessments. It requires one-on-one care, and a lot of nurses are concerned about putting patients in restraints because they don't want to be held liable for anything that may occur. But in the last year, especially with COVID, there's been a lot of inappropriate admissions in terms of our dementia patients, our violent sundowning patients onto med-surg floors, because there's nowhere else to put them. Getting them into long-term care facilities can be very difficult, and oftentimes they're in a holding period. And one case that she had mentioned about was when a nurse got hit in the head with a keyboard by a dementia patient. And so Sarah took it upon herself to find the policies and procedures for their facility on restraints, and made sure that she got all nursing staff, nurses, and the CNAs comfortable and familiar with how that policy needs to be able to be implemented in order to keep the patient safe and keep the nursing staff safe. Because these patients, they don't care if the bed alarm's going off, they're going to get out of bed. And some of them have figured out how to turn bed alarms off. And we can't have that. We're already having staffing issues. The nation is having staffing issues right now. So to be able to implement something that was once so fearful, making nurses fretful over because of the amount of paperwork involved, keeping everybody safe definitely is a high priority. With culture of safety in mind, a big to do for that is also not being fear of reporting. There needs to not be a fear of retaliation. Yes, there might be consequences for something, for an adverse occurrence or a sentinel event, but it's so important to make sure that you are finding the ways that things could have been done differently, finding like a new policy or implementing a new policy because something was overlooked, because something wasn't done correctly. And allowing yourself to be in the moment and understand how things went awry. Elena reflected on an incident where she was precepting a new nurse, and during the safety assessment of the room, she did not ensure that the bed alarm was on, and come to find out later on in the evening, that patient was found unresponsive across the room. He had taken his oxygen cannula off and went and sat in the chair, and things went downhill pretty quickly for that. And so she reported it, and they had a one-on-one meeting with that preceptee, and things, were set into motion to make sure that that preceptee understood what was taking place. I consider Elena to be a great nursing leader. She wants to teach the new hires, teach the new nurses, proper assessment, safety assessments, and unfortunately sometimes accidents do happen. And in that case, another part of culture of safety is debriefing when good things happen in bad situations, and debriefing when outcomes aren't so great. It's so incredibly important, because then you are able to have all staff that were involved in whatever the situation may be, they all get a chance to not only voice their part in the situation, but also be able to have an open floor to talk about how they felt about how things went. You don't want to have that acute stress of an adverse event take place and then have no outlet for that. When you have acute stress turn into chronic, then you wind up with nursing burnout eventually, and we can't have burnout right now, especially with the pandemic continuing to ensue. And in a lot of areas, especially my area, it's not going away. It's not trending downward as everybody was hoping it was going to do. So I definitely took away from both of their interviews, the importance of teamwork, making sure everybody's collaborating with each department that's involved in the patient care team. And that was a lot of emphasis, was teamwork. Ensuring that physical therapy was involved, occupational therapy was involved, dietitians, case management, wound care, whatever the case may be with some of these patients that have ongoing chronic conditions. And that also goes with culture of safety. You've got to have everyone on the same page so that you're not having issues with medication interactions or polypharmacy, things in that nature. So it was really cool to hear that you have Elena, who's a fairly new nurse, and I mean, over the last couple of years, and then Sarah, who has been a nurse for 20 years, and to hear from both sides of them that they celebrate change, they celebrate evidence-based practice, they celebrate keeping everyone safe, and making sure that there is a culture of safety within their unit. I thought it was pretty fantastic. Thank you.